So, aloha and welcome to the 2022 HLA conference. My name is Serena Kerbaugh, and I'll be facilitating this session. We're honored to have Laurel Oshiro from Sacred Hearts Academy and Lauren Nielsen from Aina Elementary, and they will be presenting on genrefication, reimagining library spaces. And please be aware their bio is also available on the conference website, and this recording will be available to all conference attendees. You were all muted, so please, if you have any questions, remember to type them in the chat box. And with that, I'm gonna turn it over to you, Laurel. Yeah.
Hello, welcome. I'm going to go ahead and give it to Lauren for the beginning. We'll be sharing with her screen, but thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. We're so excited to have all of you. I see a few familiar faces. Welcome on a Saturday afternoon. We appreciate your time.
Hey, not morning anymore. Good afternoon, everybody. Sorry, just getting this set up here. Okay, well, first off, we just want to say, happy 100 years to HLA, the Hawaii Library Association. It's, quite a feat and just something that we're happy to celebrate with you this year in our presentation. So welcome. We are going to be discussing today and sharing our thoughts and experiences with genrefication, reimagining the library space for student access and independence. I am Lauren Nielsen, and Laurel Oshiro, it's her library that we got to genrefy. So we're just voyaging into uncharted territory. So this is kind of the journey that we began together. So I'm Lauren Nielsen, a recent graduate from UH in December. I'm temporarily right now in the elementary school librarian at Aina. At the time, I was just doing the internship through the LIS program when I first started working with Laurel. And my favorite genre is fantasy. So Laurel, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Laurel Oshiro, and I've been at Sacred Hearts Academy since 2010. It's my 12th year. I took 1 year off, and it's my 12th year at Sacred Hearts. So I feel like a graduate now, preschool to 12th grade, but I teach 3-year-olds all the way up to 12-year-olds. So this library that you're going to be seeing that was genrefied was meant for ages 3 to 12. And right now, my favorite genre is sci-fi. Yeah, it's so much fun. So anyway, we would like to hear more about your interest in favorite genre too.
Yeah, we'll get to that part. So first off, we just want to kind of say that in our experiences, we kind of recommend it more for children's libraries. We also recommend waiting until you know your patrons really well. And that definitely colored our experience as we were going through creating the genres and just making the space ready for the students. So let's begin. We kind of want to give the time over for you just a moment to introduce yourselves in the chat. You can see we've got 4 kind of questions we'd like you to answer. Give us your name, the school or library that you're at, why you're interested in genrefication, and your favorite genre as well. So we'll give you friends just a minute to respond.
Yeah, and while you're typing, just wanted to share, I didn't do this project until my 10th year. So in terms of knowing your patrons well, it really helps to know what the needs are of your library. So my genrefied library might look a little different than yours. So actually the goal of today is not to convince you to genrefy. It's more of a discussion. A lot of libraries, children's libraries are genrefying, and we want to have that deeper discussion of is it a beneficial, is it a trend, or is it something for long term? So yeah, we're kind of considering this next hour and a half is more of a workshop and interactive. So towards the end, we'll let you unmute your mics, and we really want to hear more from you and what your experiences are. Oh, good. We see a couple of things. So welcome, Karina, UH West Oahu. Intrigued by the concept and wanted to learn more about your project. Very intriguing, for sure. I feel kind of like a guinea pig. Hi, Kent. Nice to meet you. Jessica, former children's librarian, always interested in youth services. Yeah, it's so fascinating, and you love mystery. That's awesome. We'll have to have a little book club at the end of all this. Hey, Tamara. Oh, it's so good to see you. Kahuku Public and School Library, many special collections pulled out for easy access, and nonfiction. Yeah, nonfiction was actually the trickiest area of the library for me personally. I work now for the Hawaii State Public Library System. Kent, yes, Kent from Kaimuki High School, welcome. Interested in genrefying fantasy, yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, and I think the genrefication for middle school was really successful, so I could see how my grades 4 to 6 might be helpful for you today. Sherry from Makawa, oh, welcome. I love that we can all virtually meet from all over the state. Want to learn more about the concept? Yeah. And steampunk. Oh, that's a good one. That's the first one I've heard. I gotta go look into that more. Serena, first semester in UH Manoa's program. Oh, that's so awesome. I'm so excited for you. Interested because I think the genres children are exposed to can be very impactful for future youth. And that is actually the reason why we're here, is how do we engage our young readers? How do we make the library a space for them, and not necessarily a space of how our brains work, but how are they going to be able to access and become excited to read? Your favorite genre is at the moment is romance and contemporary. I love it. And trying to expand, particularly in sci-fi and fantasy. Awesome.
We got you covered.
I know. Wow. Yeah, actually, that's so true, Lauren. I think everybody picked a different genre, and I think that's so awesome. Lauren came up with the question. She's like, we should ask everybody what their favorite genre is. So that was a great idea. Wow, that's so cool. Well, it's so nice to meet all of you. And I'm excited to, hear your voices at the end of the session. All right, Lauren, I'll go ahead and give it back to you.
Hey, all right, I'll take over. Whoa, here we go. Definitely take over. There we go. Okay, so again, just kind of asking where you are. So we just have this, I think in the reactions below, you should be able to find, we just kind of want to see your reactions of if you've already started genrefying, you're most likely to genrefy, or you're unsure if you're genrefying, and you can just throw up those reactions, and I think we should all see them come on the screen or something. We're trying it out. I think we had an idea from our comments though, like what's to be what we're expecting.
Okay. Oh, I love it. I see 2 unsure and 1 already started.
Oh, cool.
That's great. Yeah.
Great. Okay. Thank you. So just kind of fun to see where we're at, but today just kind of sharing our goals of what we're going to be discussing today. I'm going to start it off with talking about some of the history and research that has been done. It's not a very deep dive, but just kind of skimming the surface to let you know that there is information there. We're going to discuss some of the benefits that we have found, the process, and then we're going to end it with a discussion, open up for questions and things like that. So we're going to get into the history and research. So first off, just what is genrefication? You're probably, a lot of you here already know in the library sphere, you're probably already familiar with it. But just a quick definition, it's organizing materials by genre, or they also call it the bookstore model, a reader interest classification, or subject-based cataloging. And I just think, learning those different terms or the different ways that they can call genrefying really can help us understand what it is and what it's about. So when we go back to look at history, obviously we begin with the Dewey Decimal System with Melville Dewey back in the 1870s. So after he published his identification, or like his system, his cataloging system, he also created he published a guide so that you could use his system. Later on in 1909, William Borden published his own findings. So he did research and found that classifying fiction, so having genres within a public library, resulted in a significant increase in circulation. Later on, we have Betty Briggs. So she was in 1973, And this was, she worked in a junior high school, and she found that 88% of her students found classified fiction a lot easier than previous arrangement by alphabet. So 88% more successful, I guess, in her junior high. So high school, maybe is comparable to. And then finally, we have Sharon Baker. So Sharon Baker published in 1987 that fiction classification suggesting, sorry, looking at my notes here and they're a little bit jumbled, but using a classification by the genres helped users find more books. And I also identified in her research papers the need for further research, which makes sense in 1987, still a developing field. So going down to that next section, this part kind of deals with systems that people have created and successfully used in their library. So for example, this first one of shelf logic, that was created in 2007, and that was used widely in a district in Arizona, and it completely replaced the Dewey Decimal System. So they got rid of Dewey Decimal completely and created this shelf logic, and they're using that instead. Next up is Glades in 2009. So this one happened in a library in Connecticut, and it's a kind of a Dewey hybrid. So we'll talk about that, I think, a little bit later, but there's different ways of people using the existing Dewey Decimals, but altering it slightly to make it more friendly for users. So they did something like that, and they called it Glades. World Think in 2009 was originally actually part of a program, I guess, that was called Anythink, but it was changed completely into this World Think, and it's a first system-wide adaptation of the BISAC based, or the BISAC subject codes, which you see down there. And that was used in, oh gosh, I forgot my notes on that one. So I can't remember where this one is placed, but then finally we have the METIS, which was in 2011. And that one is developed by librarians themselves in New York City. So the BISAC subject codes, this is something that I wasn't familiar with, so I'm still learning of these ones. But it's an acronym for Book Industry Standards and Communications. So having those subject codes is incredibly beneficial to creating or making a genrefied selection. And then finally, the Buchter classification in 2012. So this is a word-based classification system that was developed by a librarian and was first implemented in an elementary school library. Sorry, I'm stumbling over my words here. So not only is genrefication being used in the real world, but the American Association of School Librarians and the American Librarian Association both have also published articles or had various discussions over the past few years about it, because I mean, it's definitely an up and coming topic. It's already being discussed. And I'm going to move to the next slide. So in our professional spheres, we have the ALA and the AASL organizations, but we're going to be looking at this. So this is an informal collection of information, I guess. So this is originally a Facebook group called Elementary Librarian Exchange. This is actually a group that Laurel introduced me to, but unfortunately, just like a month and a half ago, it has now been archived. So no new people can join the Facebook group, but everything that they published is still available. So I had gone through and was looking at genrefication and seeing just what people were saying in this Facebook group. And so these are just some of the frequent questions that were coming up. And while I was working on this project with Laurel, obviously looking at things on this group, seeing what they were saying, and it was coming up a lot. There were a lot of people all over the place asking about it. Sorry, I got to move some windows here. So what genres do you use? How do you organize these books? How do you label it? You know, these are just a lot of the common questions. And just these are some things that they had to say. So we'll start with the blue box. For me, it was about following basically all of Ranganathan's laws of library science. It saves time, helps people get to the books they want, and it will evolve to their needs. So if it becomes unhelpful, we can change it. There is also a hybrid of alphabetic by author, with high interest genres being separated. So kind of that example of the Dewey Decimal Light or altering it. And then they also use Follett Destiny to create it. So you can use the systems you already have in place to help with the genrefying. It's definitely worth it and a great way to become familiar with the collection. Or also, I have zero desire to do it into my libraries. This person has 2 that they run or manage, and my brain just doesn't work that way. I have the traditional system, and I really think my teaching staff will revolt if I change it on them. The kids also find things just fine. So there's a variety of opinions on it, just like we'll have probably today too. But so some of these concerns these are the concerns that come from publications. So actual studies have shown these things. We're going to look first. So inconsistency between genrefied collections due to librarian interpretation. So everybody has a different opinion on where a book can go. So it's not going to be uniform across all of the libraries. Readers may limit themselves to only one genre and avoid other genres. Books may fit more than one genre. Authors write in multiple genres. It's time consuming to make the changes, and changing locations can make it harder for students to navigate. So these are some of the benefits though that we found in the research, and it's less time teaching library navigation means more time teaching critical thinking and other skills. It's easier to collect data to determine where gaps are in the collection. Students spend less time trying to find a book that interests them. It's easier to pull for teachers, and students are more confident in finding books on their own and helping each other find books too. So these are just the references we use. This is where we got our information. And now we're going to talk benefits. So it's over to you, Laurel.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Yeah, so everything Lauren mentioned about the concerns and benefits, we encountered all of that. Lauren was kind of like the catalyst. I was like, I've been kind of playing with this idea. Like I kind of did a hybrid thing where I did it just a tiny bit. I did like one section of the library, or one high interest part of the collection, but it didn't really make sense for my library. And so I was like, I'm kind of playing with just doing all the picture books. And Lauren's like, go for it. She was my intern from UH. And I love having interns, by the way. So being a mentor is like such a rewarding experience, because then you get to get that feedback. And interns are so good at like staying up to date with all the current knowledge and research, and having that extra hand. I don't know if I would have done it if I didn't have Lauren in the beginning. Lauren was like, yeah, do it. So we pulled the trigger, and oh my gosh, the first 5 months, it was like every good day going back and forth. Like, I quit. I don't want to do this. I'm going to do this. I have to do this. Like, you can't really quit. So I think that's why we really wanted to do this presentation for you, this workshop for you, because it is a very like big discussion. You're going to be putting in a lot of time and energy into it. So it's something you want to like plan out and be very thoughtful, and know that you're going to have like the manpower to do something like this. So we're going to just do the picture book section. We ended up doing the whole library. So like I said, we're the guinea pigs, and we're here so you can learn from our mistakes and our successes. Anyway, going back to my slides, COVID and libraries. So what I noticed is that during COVID, the parents weren't allowed on campus. My volunteers weren't allowed on campus. Like the high school helpers that I had, they were all cut. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't have any help in the library. I need a more efficient system, because right now I'm checking out books and the kids are kind of like let loose to go find their own books. So I looked into the genrefication. I was like, if I was a 4-year-old, how would this make the most sense to me? Anyway, let's go on. Next slide. So COVID was kind of a catalyst for me. It always kind of been in the back of my mind. So this was my 11th year. I had just come back from maternity leave, and So anyway, so my goal was to support student independence, their interests and curiosity while searching for books. So we'll go on to the next. So how did we go about doing this? We did 3 things. So in addition to genrefying, we also color coded the whole library. Renee Rourke, she's the one who introduced me to color coding, and that was a game changer. We genrefied and we added pictures on the side of the books. So visually, I can like really quickly look through the whole library and be like unicorn, 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 frog. Wait, that's not supposed to be in there. I could pull out the frog book and put it in amphibians. Like, it's a really fast, easy system to have those little picture icons. But going on, I'll go into more detail on that. The reason why we're talking about benefits before I tell you the process is because I do want to give you a little bit of buy-in, because if I tell you the process, you're going to want to say like, bye, Laurel. I'm here, but I'm not here. So I wanted to give you the benefits so that she would give you some buy-in. So before, I was frustrated that preschoolers were borrowing like heavy text only books. But now they're finding age appropriate content, which sets them up for reading success. I'm not opposed to them borrowing like high text books, but I think they just don't know that there's no pictures. So I was getting frustrated having to like, oh, are you sure you want this? And they'd be like, oh, I didn't know. So the books were constantly out of order. And I think every children's librarian can say, yes, that's my library. So it's a daily thing, but now it's really easy to spot when a book is out of order. I can spot it from like 10 feet away. Like, that's a red book in the blue section. Or, hey, that's a unicorn book in the dragon section. So my library has never been more organized than it was now. It used to take me hours to find books for teachers' curriculum because topics were scattered by various authors. So if the teacher said, oh, we're doing spiders, they would usually say, I want fiction and nonfiction on spiders. And it'd be like, okay, so that's by that author and that author. And I had to print out the list, and I would always like miss 1 or 2 books, and it would take me hours. Now it takes me seconds. I'm like, spiders, it's under bugs. And I like, that's it. It's like 10 seconds done. Before it was traditional categories, which is kind of like uniformed throughout the whole like country or world, but now it's kind of like more adapted based on my school culture. So as a Catholic school, I need to know exactly where those Bible books are, or I'm an all-girls school, I need to know exactly where those books on girl power are. So I could really customize it for my audience. And then you too, that's why I recommend get to know your patrons as much as you can before you start something like this. But those are a couple of the benefits, the befores and afters. I also had like a light bulb moment. My bachelor's is in education. So I'm always trying to think of like, is it age appropriate pedagogy and all those types of things? And I'm like, wait, they don't learn decimals until 4th grade. Why do I have the Dewey Decimal System when more than half of my patrons don't know the Dewey Decimal System? So now it's easy for them to understand the color coding system, grouped by themes and picture icons. It was also confusing acronyms and number systems. So it used to be like F and then the author, like MCD, McDonald. And they kept shelving the book under the letter F instead of the letter M because they thought the author started with an F. So I had to like do like 2 or 3 lessons on this is how the library is organized. Now my lesson takes 2 minutes. I'm like, look for the color, look for the picture. What letter does it start with? Okay, we're done with our library intro. It's easier to spot them as shelved books. I had a very bulky collection. I thought my collection was perfect. I thought I had reached the peak of my my job as a librarian. I could retire and just coast on my accolades. And then as soon as we started this project, I was like, holy smokes, I'm a hoarder. So I came to realize that like I had too many books in one specific topic, but it was not necessarily that important. And I had noticed what areas were also neglected in my collection. I know you can print out a report, but when you see it, you're like, oh, that book on kindness, I don't need to hold on to it. as much as I thought, because I have like 40 other books on kindness. So I noticed the whole Marie Kondo thing. I was able to really like let go of things and thank that book for all its service, but I didn't have to hold on to it because I realized like, oh, I have a lot in a certain section. And going forward, I'm more intentional with my purchases now because I can visually see what's circulating the most and fastest. So I noticed right away at an all-girl school, actually not even just all-girl, but my dinosaur and my unicorn books were like, they circulate the most. And then I also saw which areas I could do better in. So when I look at it as a whole, I'd be like, oh, so this is my all about me section. And I think I can find better books for this category. That also helped me too. It wasn't just quantity, but quality of each topic. I used to take an hour to shelve every day, and my helpers would hate shelving. It was like the least favorite thing to do. Now I have students that like run from like the cafeteria to shelve books. I have I could probably pull it up, but I have like 50 girls in library club, and I have to turn people away. Like they come in to help, and because they're so excited, I can have a bunch of them, and it takes them like 15 minutes to shelve an entire cart. But yeah, so it's fun for them. It's like a sorting game rather than a ABCD game. So just to give you an idea of what it looks like in the catalog. So before it would be like H996.9 Gil, like what does that even mean? A librarian would know what that means. A 4-year-old is like, I don't care. But now it's purple, Hawaii. So a child is going to see that in our system, or I'll say like, go to the purple section. And I said, look at for the Hawaii sticker. And they'll be like, oh, I found it. It used to be 567.9 SCH. Now it's green, dinosaurs. So that makes sense to like a first grader. Dinosaur books, green section, got it. Used to be P for picture book by author MCD. Now it's blue book, and it's about courage. So if a teacher really wants to, focus on courage that month for the theme, she's like, I know exactly where to go in the library. So it's easy for the teacher too to pull books for her curriculum independently and not just feel like she has to like, excuse me, can you pull these for me? Sorry to ask or whatever. But yeah. So that's just a quick sample of what it looks like. So basically no more ambiguous acronyms. So if you go into our system, it says the Pokemon is in orange. This Gumball one is graphic novels. So that's a red. Mickey is, this is blue, fairy tales, and this is blue. So these are picture books, I know, right? Yeah. That just kind of gives you an idea of what my catalog looks like when they go to search. So I did some interviews. First grader said, it's so much easier to find books. I love languages. So I have a category called languages. I didn't give them anything. This is all, I never heard anything negative so far, knock on wood. Second grader, it's more organized. So you can find books in a snap. Teacher, I love that. I would borrow more books in a genrefied library. You can find exactly what you want. Fourth grader, screams, eat. That's all. She found the Japanese books. Another first grader, I got the interactive books, and they all brag. And then they're like, I want an interactive book too. And so then they're like, where is it? So then they'll show their friends. This is where all the interactive books are, like the Lift the Flaps or whatever. A teacher, it's so much better for the students that the library is divided into like K to 2 and 3 to 6 genres. So I'm actually in my library today. So if we have time, I can pick up the laptop and I can walk you around too. But yeah, that was a big discussion Lauren and I had was, splitting the library to be age appropriate, but not by reading level, but more by like content appropriate. Next slide. Thank you so much, Lauren. So here's just an example. For the month of October, I pulled these 10 topics and it took me 10 minutes. So I got fall, bats, spiders, pumpkins, Halloween, Dia de los Muertos, apples, nutrition, health, and senses. Boom, done. Here you go. So like I said, knowing your patrons really well, I anticipated that the teachers were going to ask for these topics. So I pulled them ahead of time, and then I brought a whole cart over to the preschool kindergarten side, and I made a teacher self-checkout mobile. Oh, by the way, feel free to interrupt me at any point. I tend to talk a lot. So I am very okay with like unmuting mics or putting a question in the chat at any point. If something shows up that you really want to ask. Yeah. Next one. Yeah. So just a quick example, there's no more searching for topics throughout the entire library. When it was by author, their books were everywhere. So this is like in the middle, you can see first day of school books. On the left, this is what our picture books looked like when we were genrefying them. We ended up having about 60 categories for the picture book section. Kind of a lot of categories. I did want to keep the categories to about 50 books in each category. Like if I knew it was going to be like a giant topic, I was like, maybe I should make it a little bit smaller. So that way within the 50 books, this child can find the book that they want. But by the way, I can send you all of my picture icons plus my topics. I can send you my whole spreadsheet and all the printouts if you would like it. I'm going to really quickly put my email. If you just email me, I'll send you all of my topics and picture labels and all those things, because that actually took me some time to like search on the internet, like what would be a good picture icon for this particular topic. That'll probably save you a lot of time. I think when I mentioned the genrefication project, that's probably my most requested thing, is people ask me like, can you send me your labels? So it just dawned on me right now. So email me, say, Laurel, I want your labels, and I will be happy to share any of my documents with you. So on the right, you can see an example of the unicorn books. They all have a unicorn picture on the side, right? So the students know exactly what that book is about. And we always say, like, don't judge a book by its cover. And it's so true, especially when you're genrefying. I would say about a quarter, 25% of the books surprised me. I thought they were about one thing, and then I read them and I'm like, oh, that's not a funny book. That's actually a book about, United States of America or something like that. So it really is eye-opening, and you do a lot of the grunt work for the kids. And I think as librarians, that is like a really great service we can offer our patrons. All right, next slide. I'll get off my little soapbox.
I just want to jump into like this stack of books. This isn't everything. We ended up, I think, don't you have like 3 or 4 tables, and or like 6 tables?
Yeah.
We used all of the surfaces of the tables. We had the chairs, we had stacks on the ground underneath the tables.
Yeah.
It was a very full couple of days of just like shifting books, and we looked in every single one, because like Laurel said, there was a surprise, like, oh, it's got a mermaid on the front. Okay, this looks like it'll go in the mermaid pile. But then you read into it and it's like, oh no, this is more of a caring book. And so we put it in the caring section. And there was a lot of collaboration as we were going about making our piles. And, we would say, oh, I'm not sure about the genre on this book. What do you think? And we would share what we found, in our little skim through, and they'd say, oh, I think that sounds like this category. And I think we started off with like 5 or 6 that we knew we were going to have.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, well, we should make a new category for this one. And now we need a new category for that one.
The categories happened organically. We just started like, I almost wanted to cry seeing all the books come off the shelf and like, oh God, what should we do? And then but it was fun. Thank you so much, Lauren, though, for mentioning all of that about the volunteers. So we just kind of started it in the summer, end of the summer, and Lauren was in charge of the Hui Dui, the UH Manoa's students group. So if you want to get started, or if you need volunteers, I highly recommend reaching out to Mira or Dr. Harada at UH Manoa's LIS program and asking like, hey, do you have a bunch of students who would like to earn some volunteer hours? That's what happened with me. I got 5 to 10 Hui Dui members that came, and they were able to do this for their portfolio, their volunteer hours. So that was kind of the catalyst. And Lauren helped get them all together to do this. Yeah.
It was fun. It was a lot of work. We were all like,
oh yeah.
It's very physically taxing. I can't remember if we talk about it more later, but make sure that you take it slow, because we didn't start slow, but we definitely slowed down later.
Yeah, we thought it was gonna take our goal was to finish it in a month. That's funny. It took about 3 months. Yeah. Yeah, it was during COVID. So fortunately, we didn't have a lot of visitors because the library was a little bit of a hot mess the first 5 to 6 months. Moving on. But that's the process. Let's continue to talk about the benefits before people leave the workshop. Anyway, so outsourcing. It takes me now less than a minute to train new volunteers to shelve books. I get high school volunteers and sometimes high school non-volunteers who are doing detention, and they're only with me for 30 minutes. And I'm like, okay, here's the rundown. Look at the color first, and then look at the category. Good luck. And that's literally all I say. And they can shelve an entire cart and it's done perfectly, like every time. And yeah, I haven't run into any issues, no matter their academic, interest levels or whatever, they all are able to shelve. So as a librarian, when you're circulating like 2,000 books a month, like you need all the help you can get. And especially, with COVID at the time, it made a huge difference. And I'm able to devote my time and energy to lesson plans now or other things for the library program. So that was one of my most favorite things about the genrefication. And also, as you mentioned, now I know what every single book in the library is about. Generally speaking, I feel like I really am the expert of this library. It's a really great feeling. But yeah, I wanted to quit many times. Any questions so far? Or anything that kind of struck you as interesting? Take a breath. Okay. All right, good. I'll keep going. But yeah, interrupt me at any time. I really would love to hear if anything is strikes you as interesting. So efficiency. So like I said, I have 4 fourth graders can now shelve an entire cart of book in under 10 minutes. That's what I mean. Like they rush from the cafeteria to the library at recess time, and I tell them, go outside, get some fresh air, play with your friends. They're like, no, we want to shelve. So I would say that's about 50 to 75 books. So I would say, so they're able to shelve. So that's what one cart looks like. But you can see right away, like, oh, those are mostly blue books. And then we got a couple of green books, and but from far away, you can see what yes, go ahead, Serena. No.
I think someone was raising their hand.
Yes.
I don't
I have a question.
Yeah. Oh, hi, Anne.
Hi, what resource did you use to find out the genre of the book?
Great question. Sometimes when you open the book, it will say on the copyright page, it will at the bottom, it'll say subject or heading. I actually, while we were preparing for this presentation, I found out that Follett Destiny has a $200 genre kit, and they do like they and your Follett what's your do you use Follett Destiny, or are you what's that the new system? Lauren, which one is the DOE using? Called that
it's like LS2 or
yes,
something.
yes.
Yeah.
I don't know much about LS2, but I know, does anybody have Follett Destiny? Follett? I know Follett has now has a genrefication kit. I wish I had that. So I would use either the copyright page of the book. Sometimes I would have to just skim the book. I would read the summary. We would read the summary on the inside jacket, or I would I would just try to search for the summary online, and then I would quickly read the summary if it's like a chapter book, and then I'd be like, okay, this is like more sci-fi, or this is more horror or whatever. That's a really great question. Sometimes I would even go to the Hawaii State Public Library and see what their subject headings were, and I'd be like, oh, okay. So I would piggyback off of the public library too. Those are just some ideas. Yeah, so I would use multiple sources. But yeah, does that help answer your question?
Yeah, can you please put those two sources in the chat, because it's kind of breaking up for me.
Oh, no, yeah, I'm so sorry. Yeah, of course. Definitely. Lauren, would you mind putting that in the chat really fast? Those sources. So yeah, it would be on the copyright page of the book at the bottom, the subject headings. And then sometimes you can even go to the publisher's website, or you can go to the Hawaii State Public Library System and find out what subject headings they used. Or sometimes just a matter of reading the inside jacket of the book and reading the summary. Those are the ones that took the longest to figure out. I would say the subject heading was on the copyright page maybe half the time. Yeah. Yeah. Does anybody else have any suggestions too of other ways to find the genre, or how what you have found useful? As I mentioned, this has been more of a learning experience for me. I would not call myself the genre.
When you bring it up.
Oh, so sorry. What was that?
You have the key. Yeah. You have the key, so I'll wait for you.
Oh,
Oh, I think it's gonna
sorry,
speak.
sis. Oh, that's okay. Awesome. All right. Yeah. If anything else, any questions come up, yeah, that's a very good question.
Yeah, so just, I don't know if you can see my camera, or if I can see my camera. Let me see. So I have this book, and I'm just looking in the front cover, and at the bottom here, it does have, it's got
Yeah.
science fiction, human alien encounters, fiction, identity fiction, and then just, so it did have, this one did have a couple, and this is from the Search for Wandla. I don't know. That was just like a book I had on my desk. So sometimes they do have, but I want to also second, I guess, the looking at what other systems have. I know in the LS2 system, or I'm learning this, I'm becoming familiar, that you can look up a book title and you can see where the shelf location is in other libraries. So if you're looking up a book and other libraries have the same book, they can have different shelf locations, and that might be something that you can do for identifying, I guess, genres kind of a thing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Tamara asked, how did you organize? Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. And is it Anne or Annie? Anne, I think it's Anne. She gave a heart. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
They actually call me Aloha.
Aw.
I'm from the Native Hawaiian Library.
Oh, that's so cool. Oh my gosh. I want to come visit your library. Yeah. Oh, Lauren, that was excellent. Yeah, thanks for showing that sample. Thank you so much. Tamara asked, how did you organize the older chapter books? It looks like there's a pink circle only. So I'm going to be showing that actually. I'm going to show you each section of the library. There are 8 sections of the library, but that's a great question. Yeah. You're very welcome. Okay, next slide. The pink books, by the way, those are face out books. I only did face out baskets for my pink section. So those are for grades 1, 2, and 3. Generally speaking, those are my early chapter books. My older students did not like the face out stuff. So theirs is yellow, but I don't see any yellow books on that cart. So my grades 4, 5, 6 books will have a yellow, and then it'll have the icon, the genre on the side, but there's no yellow books on this cart. Yeah. Next one. So yeah, like I said, I can really quickly look at my library and I'd be like, oh man, I'm almost out of dinosaur books. They're flying off the shelves. Like I might need to really look more at my dinosaur books. And this is something that the students are interested. I want to be promoting like student choice voice and student-led learning, and not so much teacher sage on the stage. I want the kids to continue their excitement for reading. So I'm searching for good dinosaur books. If you know of any, put them in the chat. I'm still like, man, they keep flying off those shelves, but I know the popularity and the quantity of each section just by a quick glance at my library. Okay. Less misplaced books. So for me as a librarian, this has been my #1 happy thing of this whole project. I can walk through the entire library in 10 minutes, maybe even less, and I can find all the misplaced books. Versus at the end of the year, I wouldn't find those books. I wouldn't find those books until the end of the year, like when I do inventory or whatever. But now, because of the color coding and the topics, I can very quickly find those misplaced books right away. So locating books for students and teachers, even misplaced books, has been very fast. So I haven't had as many issues with lost books in the library. And then, so this just happened this past week. A kindergarten, she's like 5. She said, Mrs. Oshiro, where are the shark books? And then I told her in the green fish section. She said, I can't read. And I'm like, that's okay. Look for the fish picture on the side of the book. And she's like, okay. So she was really excited. Like I had 10 kids waiting to check out books. I couldn't like stop and like go and help her because it's just me with, the 20 kindergartners. So she was really excited. And then you can go next slide. She was able to come back with all of her favorite books plus a little bit more connected to what she's interested in. And then this was with a 4-year-old. Where are the unicorn books? Then I said, in the blue section. What letter does unicorn start with? U. That's right. Go to the blue U section, right? So she knows where to go in the library because she knows her alphabets at age 4. So it's a very kid-friendly system, I guess you can say. And now she knows exactly where to find all her favorite unicorn books. And she can tell all her friends. So here is what that student that wanted the shark books, this is what she ended up checking out. I asked her, can I take a picture of the books you're going to check out? She's like, sure. So I snapped a quick photo, but you can see like, oh, she gets to like continue that momentum of being excited about learning now. And she did it all by herself. And then she was like, oh, I also like these kind of fish. So so she ended up like being really excited. As you can see, these are green. So green, I created a section called living things. So it's fish, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, invertebrates, mammals. Did I say mammals already? I don't know. But anyway, that's that section, which is what they learn in kindergarten. They learn how to genrefy animals, I guess. But yeah. All right, next slide. Okay, so basically, in a nutshell, what I did is I chopped my library in half by age appropriateness. I have, in terms of the colors and the topics, I have a K-2 section and I have a 3-6 section. So I do have books about, let's say sharks, but I have like sharks in the yellow grades 3-6 section, and I have a book about sharks in the K-2 section. The shark books in the 3-6 section are going to have mostly words. And the K-2 is going to have like giant text and giant pictures. And this has been really successful in like helping my students find books that they really connect with without having to check each book and say, are you sure you wanted this one? And then they realize like, oh, I don't want that. That's too heavy, or that's too many words in it. Chopped it in half, color coded everything. I replaced all those acronyms with pictures instead. I've also been getting a lot of international students, and when the international families come to visit the library, they are so excited because their child is like still learning English, but they know what a fish is. So they know these are fish books. So it's not just empowering my young students, it's also empowering my English language learners as well. I'm more mindful of my collection because I've familiarized myself with themes of each book, and I'm intentional with purchases for each category, so I'm saving money. Okay, awesome. And then and Aloha mentioned she's looking to genrefy her library. So awesome. Yeah, so lesson that I had to remind myself why I'm doing this. I'm not trying to do this to be like trendy, or I'm not trying to do this just because. It's I almost like had to move forward. I think with the less amount of helpers, or with fewer helpers, fewer parents being able to come to the library during COVID, I had to move forward, and my books weren't going to be moving as much or in and out of the library if I didn't do something. So I told myself it doesn't matter if I have the nicest books if the students can't find it. So I really shifted my focus from all the other projects that I was working on, and it was all hands on deck. I was like, I'm going to make this library make sense for my patrons, and I'm going to take a break from making, posters, take a break from making these like detailed lesson plans. I'm really going to focus my energy this year on making the books easy to find for the little ones. Yeah. So next slide. I can also give you a copy of these slides too. Just send me an email. My email is in the chat. Yeah, if you want a copy of the slides, if you want to ask me any specific questions. All right, so now I'll walk you through the process, and I'm going to show you what each section of the library looks like. I might actually be able to walk you around too. All right. So step 1 was to sort. Step 2 was to weed. Then we realized like, whoa, I have way too many books in this topic. So that was actually kind of a nice residual benefit of genrefying. We ended up weeding 4,000 books. So I went from 14,000 to 10,000 books. And it's like, oh my gosh. But I looked at those books and I realized like they were detracting from the rest of the collection. And when I realized that, like now my library is a lot more focused on the specific needs of my community and the culture of my school. The third step was cataloging and labeling. That took a long time. And then the fourth one was signage. All right, next slide. So as we've talked about, takes a village. So the 1-year project, I had 10 hours of volunteer help each week, and I probably dedicated about 10 hours myself. So maybe total of 20 hours a week for 1 year to do 10,000 books and feel really good about it. I've heard of librarians that do it in 1 month or 2 months. Yeah, everybody's library is a little different. And I just found out, as I mentioned, that Follett has a genrefication kit, which I'm sure would have really sped up things too. I think more and more library companies are getting on board with genrefication. The labels, you can buy the labels now too. Lots of Demco and Follett, they all have it ready to go. I think when I started off this, I looked into it, but now there's even more stuff that they have available. So I think you'll be set up for success much more. You have a much easier time than me. Yeah. So that, on the left, that's what Lauren was talking about. This was just the picture book section. You can see like just how many different piles we had. We were trying to figure out like, could we consolidate some piles, or does this need its own pile? And that's when we started to realize like which sections we just had way too much and which sections we didn't have enough of. Yeah. And here's the wonderful volunteers on the right. Yeah, there's Lauren and Mira and a couple of other, Renee on the far left, who helps with color coding. Yeah. Thanks, Lauren. Any questions so far? Anything else? Yeah. Okay. Oh, great. Oh, good question. What was the criteria you applied during the weeding stage? What did you do with the books that were being deselected or removed from the collection? So that's a very good question. So the first part was, Serena, yeah, was what was the criteria you applied during the weeding stage? So First off, I looked at the wear and tear of the book. Some of the books I've just held on because I knew that it was out of publication. So I was kind of holding on to it for sentimental mental reasons, and the kids were loving it. But then as I started to go through things and I realized like this topic, I have so many books, and I think I can finally let go of this book that's out of publication. And there are so many great newer books in this topic area that I should highlight for my students. So the section that I did the most aggressive weeding though was my grades 4, 5, 6, because it'd been my 10th year. I had developed an attachment to some books from my first year. And it was interesting. I actually ran out of space during this genrefication project, which was I was like, wait, we're donating books. Why are we running out of space? And it's because we were trying to give a shelf to each category, or we're trying to like organize things, and that requires more space. And that was very unexpected. So I weeded all the books that were published before 2010 because I had no more space for grades 4, 5, 6 books. And it was actually a really great process. Except, like for like the super amazing classics that are circulating a lot, like Harry Potter. Of course, I kept those and whatnot, but looks at yellowing of pages. So basically wear and tear, the physical aspect, and then also the circulation of it. Like if I saw like, oh, this hasn't been borrowed in like, it's only been borrowed once in the past 10 years. I was like, I can find a better book on this topic area. And I kind of also had to weigh like, is this really benefiting my curriculum, or am I holding on to it because it just looks cool? So that was also like, how well does it connect to the curriculum? Because I'm sure for all of you too, you might be noticing that your community's needs have changed a lot in the past 7 years, 4 years, 5 years. I just had a student visit my library from Ukraine, and I'm like, I need to go get some books on Ukraine. Like, there are so many things going on in the world that, we're constantly having to reevaluate the topics that we have in our library. So there were, mostly it was the community's needs and how they had changed in the past 10 years. And then for those books that we weeded, I gave them to the teachers. I offered them up to the teachers first. And then if the teachers didn't want, then I offered them up to the students. And then if the students and families didn't want, then we gave them to, I think Kaimuki Public Library has a Friends of the Library thing. Yeah. And then also my art teacher was really interested in some of the books too. So if they were really like wear and tear, she was using them for art projects. But we usually try to distribute them with in-house first as much as possible. And then we give it out to the community later on. But I know it's in DOE there are certain like regulations or whatever on, weeding books that belong to the state or something. So that it really depends on your administration too. Some admin, but weeding is very important, to the overall quality of your collection. So excellent question, Serena. Did that help answer your question? Oh, okay. Yeah. Thank you so much though for asking that. Yeah, that is a big question.
Sorry, I kind of want to jump in a little bit. So I remember as we were, doing the genrefying, just as I was working around in the library with Laurel, that I don't know, I feel like you explained a lot about how fun it was weeding the books. Like you seem to really enjoy the process. You're like, I know what I need. I know what I can get rid of. And you were just, I just remember like, you were just so excited. You're like, I can get rid of these books. And you just seemed so excited about it because you could see exactly, like you said, it was something that you held on for sentimental purpose or because you didn't think that you had any other books that fulfilled that niche. But then you realized, no, I've got like 10 other books that are even better. So I can get rid of this one that I've been holding on to. And I just remember like the stack growing of the discarded books and just like your happiness growing with it.
Aww.
I don't know. It seemed like a really happy process and just kind of like fun for you too, a little.
Yeah.
Maybe it was also hard, but it was also kind of fun is what I'm remembering.
I recommend weeding too. I recommend doing it with somebody else because sometimes like your heart and your brain don't quite like, your brain is telling you like you don't need it, your heart is like I need it. So it helps having other librarians who are there able to like give me their feedback, like Laura, let it go.
Yeah. And I remember you doing it too as we were like creating our piles. Like you'd go through and you just, I don't think, well, you started initially helping us with the sorting in the categories, but I feel like you started going through and just pulling things as we were pulling them off the shelf too. So some of them didn't even make it to a category. You just already knew, you're like, oh, this one can go.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That was, yeah, it did feel good. What slide are we on? I'm
Oh,
so
gosh.
sorry.
No,
You
you're
know,
good.
we're at the 1 hour mark. If you
Oh,
want to
shoot. Okay.
stand up, you're probably standing up because everybody's cameras are off. But if you want to like stand up, do some, you know, walk around your room or whatever, I can take a quick breather. We can, yeah, let's take a quick little break. If anybody has any questions at this time, sorry, we're on 43. Okay, I'll make sure we'll finish up the presentation for sure in the next 10 minutes. I'm gonna, yeah, go through that. All right. So yeah, you can stretch it out. You can tell we're elementary, early childhood. We need to, yeah, move our bodies. So this was my color coding system. As you can see, orange are ready readers, yellow is middle grade, green are living things, blue picture books. I created a new category called global learners. A lot of prospective families were like, ooh, so that's where all my language books are. I really wanted to highlight language and geography. Okay, next slide. I'm gonna try to do 30 seconds for each slide. So now this is what the picture books look like, arranged by topic rather than author. So you can see a real close up, the unicorn picture and spine label and the unicorn books are together. So a teacher will say, can I have books on friendship, or can I have fiction and nonfiction books on plants? And I'll be like, I got you, because that's exactly how I organized the library based on what I knew you were going to be asking, so I could anticipate the teacher's needs. We created 16 plus categories, and because of COVID, I got a ton of requests for social emotional learning books. And that was actually the most eye-opening. We had to do a lot of digging, and we had to actually read the picture books to make sure what the theme was, because they would say the theme is one thing, but yeah, anyway, next slide. So this is what my picture book section looks like. We have earth, engineering, fall, health, heroes, imagination, family, jobs, kindness, courage, all of those things. But you can really quickly see like blue books are in this section, and we also put blue tape on the shelf. So yeah. And then the folk and fairy tales, that was one of the last categories, one of the last sections of the library that we did. So no more 398.2. How many of you have like a really large folk and fairy tale section? So I went back and forth. I was like, should I do it by country? Oh, tomorrow. Yeah. Should I do it by country? Should I do it by like, you know, topic? Should we do it by grade level? Like that one was a real challenge. So we just held off on that and pretended like it wasn't there. And we just kept working on the other sections. But Lauren helped me, and she said, let's split it into 3 reading levels. So we tried it and it's worked. So in the picture book section, I have nursery rhymes, folk tales, legends, fairy tales, princesses, right? In the grades 1, 2, and 3, now there's a little bit more text, but there's still lots of pictures. Those are, and then the last one is the grades 4, 5, 6 folk and fairy tales, which is like, it's like Zeus and Kronos and, you know, like all that gore and stuff that I really wouldn't want a kindergartner bringing home. Yeah, those Greek mythologies, man, yeah. So, yeah. So anyway, so it worked out really well, splitting it into 3 reading levels. And yeah, so before it was FF for folk and fairy tale, and then AND for Anderson. Now it's princess with a crown icon. I get a lot of requests for princess books in an all-girls school. Go figure. All right, next slide. This is my early chapter section. So mostly it's grades 1, 2, and 3. This one is my only face out section, and it worked really great for this particular grade level. I've seen people do face out for picture books, but I didn't quite, I had 60 categories for picture books, so I couldn't fit face out. And I was also worried about books falling on kids. So I don't have a huge library space. So the baskets worked great for the smaller chapter books. And yeah, it worked well for this grade level. For some reason, my middle grade students didn't like face out. I think the traditional way is so ingrained in them, and they preferred seeing the spine. I think for them, they're not looking at pictures because they know that covers can be deceptive, and they're looking at, authors and genre. So this one is, by topics of interest. Yeah. My long-term goal is to add the picture icons on the front of the basket. So like Geronimo Stilton, I'll have a picture of Geronimo Stilton. But yeah, it took me 3 days. So like 24 hours. Yeah. With Lauren's help. And there's the global learners, as we mentioned, very popular. If for prospective families really love this. And I learned really quickly that I need to create a more diverse collection in my library. I want more bilingual books, and I noticed how excited the students were to learn another language. And that's kind of where education is heading is a more global society. So I think this is my area that I really want to focus on developing. Yeah. And then this is my living things. I have, this is like my picture book, living things, mammals, birds, amphibians, dinosaurs, reptiles, fish, and bugs. And then adding the toy animals to represent the categories. It's really neat because every child has a favorite animal. So when I split it up like this, I can really quickly find the book that they want. And then instead of author on the side, we started adding the first letter of the animal. So frog would be an F on the side. Yeah, this is not an updated picture with the letter, but you get the idea. Yeah, next one.
Well, we have a quick
Uh,
question. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Do you have any Hawaiian
Yeah.
language books?
Yeah, I do. Yes. Yeah. So if you go back, you'll see on the bottom. Yeah. So a lot of them got checked out. Actually, this is kind of an old picture. It's actually one of my most popular sections in the library, which I was like, oh, surprise. Let me see. I can really quickly walk over there. Okay. I have a really small library, but like I said, 10,000 books, so it's deceptive.
Well, and while you're walking over, I can say too that I remember you telling me one point that your Hawaiian collection wasn't really circulating very much. So it's exciting to hear that it's doing better circulating now that this section. So
these are my Hawaiian books. You'll see. Oh gosh, sorry. I need to. So it's purple in the global learners, and it says the word Hawaii. So these are actually my bilingual books. So I have books about I have like the book about Limu the turtle, which is not really teaching them that much Hawaiian, and that's in the picture book section. But if this one, like the main goal is teaching them the language Hawaiian, it goes in this purple section. But if it's just like telling a story about a gecko, and it's mostly like for mainland, audience consumption, then that would be in the picture book section. But yeah, so this is my Hawaiian language section. Yeah, bilingual books. Great question. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Okay. Animals and bugs. Oh yeah. So that's right here. Yep. And then now we have middle grade. So tomorrow, I believe this is for you. So you can see. So I tried to match the icon, the signage with the icon on the side. So you'll see it has like the humor icon, and then it has the author, just the author on the bottom. I got rid of the F because they kept shelving it under the letter F. It's like, I don't have that many books by authors that start with the letter F. So yeah, I really tried to, Marie Kondo, keep it simple, yellow, humor, and then author. And then it's in alphabetical order. Yeah, by genre. My sections are fantasy, humor, Nene Award, historical fiction, realistic fiction, horror, sci-fi, mystery, and graphic novels. I got rid of classics because the classics were not moving. So that was a learning experience. And then I also got rid of adventure because half of them were in fantasy and the kids didn't really know. That one was so ambiguous. So we mixed adventure. Yeah, next one. Nonfiction, middle grade. This one might be controversial. Like I said, I'm not an expert on genrefying, but it's working so far. So I have like the topic at the top, the icons, and then I got rid of authors and I just kind of grouped them. So like these are my Guinness World Record books, and you'll see at the top it says fun facts. And then I have like a STEM section, like science, technology, engineering, math. Biomes is really popular. I have one on sustainability, hobbies. This is definitely not Dewey at all. I apologize, Dewey. I have failed you. Hobbies. So I have like gaming. So this whole top shelf is gaming. It circulates so much, but you'll see it has like a video game icon, and that's it. And then I have crafts and sports and art and cooking and gardening based on the student's interest. And then history, ancient history, modern history, Hawaiian history, and human rights. But anyway, I can send you all of those, my specific categories, and I can send you all my labels. Just send me send me an email, whatever you want. I'm an open book. I love to share. So yeah, ask for anything you may need. All right, next one. We haven't genrefied this section of the library yet. So far, we just have all I did was I took off the 3 letters of the author's last name and I just put 1 letter. So Mo Willems' book is now Orange W. That's it. And in the catalog, it's Orange-W. So I kept the author, but I took out the 3 letters. So making the categories, but making them smaller. I guess it's genrefied by alphabet, but just first letter. Yeah. Biography, we split into picture book biography and chapter book biography, because picture book biography is more like student-led and chapter book biography is more like book report, teacher requirement led. So it's all based on my school's curriculum. Yep, and then next one. Graphic novels, I added a red dot. I just created, this is the only category where I created a subcategory. I added manga because the girls have been asking me for manga all the time. So I have a special basket just called manga, and it's empty majority of the time. So I need to buy more manga books. Yeah. And then the holiday books, that was, if you're gonna start anywhere, holiday books is the easiest place to genrefy. Easiest and most worthwhile, especially if you work at a school. And I keep it that shelf right over here. It's at the front of the library and it's kind of separated from the rest of the collection. Parents question when a child comes home with a Christmas book in April, like, I don't care. I mean, like, let the child read what they want to read. But anyway, now the kids know, like, if they go in this section, it's not by accident that they pulled a Christmas book. They did it intentionally. And we want to encourage them to have free choice too, but it's really nice to kind of have that ready to go. So that's the easiest place to start off if you're unsure about genrefying. Next one. And then So the most common question that occurred during this whole process is, which genre should I put it in if it falls into multiple genres? I think I had a book that fell into like 4 genres at once. And so I just kept telling me what I learned from other librarians. They said, put it in the genre where it's most likely to get borrowed. And I was like, okay. And I had to just let it go. Like, and the whole point is you don't want it to sit behind your desk. Like, where should I catalog? Where should put it out there, experiment, see what happens. But so far that has worked really well. Putting it in the area that it's going to be most likely be borrowed in. Yeah. Okay, next one. Oh, thanks, Serena. I like that you kept images that match their topics for nonfiction middle reader genres. There tends to be a loss in using images as you get older and only using text, but it's nice to see visual aids being kept alongside textual information. That's beautifully said. Yes, I totally agree, especially with English language learners too. Yeah, the students appreciate it as well. And also in terms of shelving too, making sure books are not misshelved. And the word to the wise, if you genrefy one section, you're going to want to genrefy more sections. You're going to realize like, wow, this is really going to help me so much in the long run. And then you're going to, I don't know, I went through a cycle of like denial. But we should come, Lauren, you and I should like coin our own like genrefication system, call it the O'Shiro-Nielsen 2020 system. Yeah, exactly. So, and then yeah, so there's 7 stages of genrefication, like excitement, regret, excitement again. I don't know, there should be a wheel, but we'll come up with something. That'll be HLA's 101. We want to give a special shout out to all the people who helped us get this project off the ground, especially Lauren. And her team of people. Thank you so much, Lauren. And then we're just about wrapping up. Oh, discussion. Oh, we did it. Huh. Amazing. So we have 13 minutes left. You can unmute your microphone, or if you feel more comfortable, you can put it in the chat. But now we give you the floor. I can also walk around the library if you want a tour, but if there's no questions, you can feel free to visit my website or take a screenshot of the slide. My email, loshiro@sacredhearts.org, my website, shawlibrary.com. I bought a domain, best investment ever, $12 a year. And my Instagram, where I share my genrefication journey. Is anybody on Instagram? Oh, yay. I'm at librarian Laurel. And then if you want to get in touch with Lauren, her email is right here too, pacific.lauren@gmail.com. So I will close my mouth for 30 seconds. Are there any questions, concerns, comments, or feedback?
One of the questions I had, I recently read a chapter in one of the textbooks for one of my classes, and they were saying about how like LibGuides targeted towards children can be really hard to make because children might not be able to handle that much information. And I guess through the presentation, it seemed like it's very helpful for children in that sense with the images and stuff. And I was just wondering if you had maybe any advice for anyone who's trying to make LibGuides for children, what they can incorporate based on that.
Oh my gosh, it's like you read my mind. So that's actually my next project. So this genrefication was my big project, and my next top project is actually LibGuides. I wanted to post them on my website, shawlibrary.com. But the only thing I was thinking is like, okay, I know LibGuides are usually shared as PDFs. And I'm like, what if I end up changing the topic later on down the road? I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but I'm always looking for efficiency. So like, I'm like, I won't do something unless I know it's going to help me in the, unless I don't have to like worry about it later on. So I was looking into Follett Destiny. I know you can make a LibGuide on Destiny, and then I'm trying to figure out if there's a way I can embed that list that I made and embed it on my website. So it'll say, like, for example, books about courage, and they just click on it. It'll take them, boom, directly to my online catalog. And that way the location will be the most current. If for any reason it's not there, or let's say the book ends up getting weeded and I don't want to go back to that LibGuide, delete that title and then save as PDF and upload it again, like all of that. So I was trying to think of a way I could do it in real time, which would be sharing it from my online catalog. I don't know if anybody's done that yet, but that's something I'm looking into right now.
So
Yeah.
kind of jumping in on here a little with my super expansive 2 months of experience. So I've been working, not exactly LibGuides, but I've been creating lists or helping work on lists for the Aina Haina library, and the LS2 system that we use in the public. Correct me if I'm wrong, friends. But there's one of the places you can go that they've got, it's LS2, it's interesting. But it does have like LS2 pack. You can create lists, and those lists I have seen linked across different like documents and files that we share with the teachers. So as I'm creating lists on the LS2 pack, it updates the list automatically that the teachers have like an access to, because there's like a Google Doc or something that I've shared with the teachers. And so they can click on that link and it takes them to that list that's been created. So I don't know if that answers or helps, but LS2 pack has a way to do it too.
Yeah, that 2 months, man, you learned fast. You know, a lot of things really quickly. Thank you, Serena. That was an excellent question. I'm so happy you're in our session though. Yeah, it's nice. Good discussion. Yeah.
Yeah. Any other questions or comments from the audience?
We're happy to stay on till 2:30 too, but technically we're done. So if you have to run to the bathroom or whatever, or enjoy your Saturday. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much, everybody. You're so sweet. Thank you for giving your time to be with us today and for all your excellent questions. If at any time you change your mind or you are currently going through genrefication and a question pops up, you can email me at any time. I love discussing this project. I love discussing anything libraries, and I love to share any time throughout the school year. If a question comes up, please use me as a resource, or Lauren too as well on the DOE side. So it's nice. Yeah, we got the DOE and we got the private school aspects. Yeah.
And it looks like Alita.
Edit show. Yes, Alita, I love that. I love that show on Netflix.
Wait, there's a show?
But not the library. It's called what's the name of that show? They basically, it's like Marie Kondo, but it's like an American version, and they use like containers. The Home Edit. Thank you, Alita. Yeah. It's on Netflix. The Home Edit. It's like one of those.
I thought there was a library show, and I was like, what? I need to see that. Okay. We'll make one.
We'll make one. Thanks, Alita. That's a good suggestion.
You two are gonna start it. Yes.
Yes, but you can feel free to go at this time. We appreciate it. But we'll Alita, if you'd like, we can stay on for the next 7 minutes if somebody just wants to talk, with us like one-on-one or whatever. But the rest of you are, we thank you very much.
Yes. So just recapping, thank you to Laurel and Lauren for participating in this, and everyone for participating in this session. Please remember to check the session's evaluation link that I sent in the chat just for some feedback. It's also available in the session description of the schedule on the conference website. And enjoy the rest of your conference, and we hope to see you guys at also the Centennial going on in like a couple more, 2 hours.
I have a quick question. What was that resource you said that had information about genres, like that you wish that you knew? I forget. It was from like a library company. I don't know if it was.
I just found out Follett has a genrefication kit, and it's like $200. So let me put that in the chat. Yeah, I was like blown
Okay.
away. I couldn't believe that they make one now. Oh, thank you, Lauren.
Oh,
Yeah,
Follett
so if you go to
Essay, thank
Follett,
you.
Google Follett Genrefication Kit, and I think they have labels. I think they have representatives that will they'll do your collection for you. So I know the question was like, how do you know which genre? They actually they can print it out for you. And I was like, oh no, that would have been so much faster. So yeah.
I'm not in a library. Lauren, you're at Aina Haina. I'm so happy for you with Shelly. Oh my gosh. I got to get in touch with her, but
Yeah, she's amazing. But she's actually out for the year, which is why I'm there. So, but oh my gosh, her lesson plans, phenomenal.
I
Just
know. I'm like, I
great.
am not worthy.
Yeah, it's been
Oh, well,
fun.
yeah, thank you for the resource because I'm not in a library right now, but for my job, they have like a selection of books. They call it their library, and they say, well, you're gonna make it a library. And I said, well, it's only a library is like a garden, it's a living thing. So if you want me to just go in and like clean it up, it's not a library. It's just a pile of books. So, I'm trying to figure out how to help them organize. And so they don't have a budget. And so actually I love the public one, it's library thing. And it's amazing. I could catalog the book, I could scan them and it creates a catalog. I can share the link with the staff and they can look at it. And then they have like an online catalog that you can have like separate so that they can actually borrow it themselves called, I think they call it literally like Tiny Cat, I think. And it's like $3 a month or something like that for like a small org. And then like $10 a month for like, if you have like a lot of books, like over 2,000 or 5,000 books. So like tiny libraries, like, my nonprofit organization, it's free. And I can have an app on my phone. I got volunteers to actually use their phone and scan the ISBN. If you have to manually enter it, then maybe you want, like LIS students or somebody who can like type it in correctly. And it was amazing. So I really like this because they have small libraries are going to have it sorted by genres and they don't know what to do with their books. When you talked about weeding, I don't know how much they're going to weed because when I was looking at the books, I was like, oh, we can get rid of this and we can get rid of just like, no, we can't. These are like the foundational, like, idea people who created this whole line of thinking. And I was like, oh, my bad. This book looks terrible. That's all. But thank you. It's good food for thought. So thank you for that resource.
I was taking notes while you were talking. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, Alita, you need to go do a session next year. I want to learn all about how you made like a
My
affordable
library thing.
Yeah, that's super cool. And then your quote about a library is like a garden. I was like, oh, that should be like published in a book or something. Like, yeah, that is,
From the LIS department.
oh, that's a great way
Perfect.
to advocate for your value as a certified librarian. I love that. That's so beautiful, Alita.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. That is encouraging. I think I should do like a small session.
Yeah.
It can be like a poster one, just because that library thing was amazing. And then it's crowdsourced stuff. So I used it for the LIS, like if you had to recommend a book, because there's Goodreads, but I actually like the library thing better because they do like a little word cloud. So you can evaluate if it's a small collection. So I'm thinking like really tiny, like if you're looking at like retirement homes, classroom libraries, library thing is free for classroom libraries. So you can get the Tiny Cat for free. So for schools that perhaps, I mean, the DOE, I have my own beef with, there's not, well, librarians, when they retire, they're not being replaced. But for those environments in particular, it would be really, really helpful and it would be really sort of easy, I think, to get the teachers aware of it.
What was it called again? Because like I actually want to do it for my library at home because my bookshelf is ridiculous.
Oh yeah, you can do it for home. It was intended for like, bibliophiles. It's called Library Thing. I think it's librarything.org. But you can look at it in your app store. I have an iPhone, and so in the app store, yes, that's what it is, Library Thing. And based on the ISBN that you put in, if it's a current book, it'll actually show covers. So, I mean, it's beautiful. Wait, can you see it? No, you can't see it, but it'll show like pictures of the books and then titles, and then you can choose how you want it to be displayed. Like, you just want like a list of books, or do you want like a grid view of the covers of the books? So it's kind of fun. I got to geek out in my non-librarian world.
Thank you. That's cool.
Okay. Well,
Oh, 3:30.
what a wonderful ending. It's 3:30. Thanks again for the presentation. Yeah, I got a lot from it. I'm actually on public in school, and I was leaning towards public, but this kind of makes me think maybe I should go more towards school. So thank you. It was very informational. I have a lot of thinking to do. But yeah, thank you for a wonderful session. Enjoy the rest of the conference. And just please make sure to check out the evaluation link if it doesn't redirect you after the ending of the session. But yeah, thanks everyone. See you later.
Thank you. Bye. Oh, thank you, Cora. Thanks, Lauren. Thanks, Serena.